No one died except for terrorists. There was no collateral damage. The mission was a success. And Democrats think they have a scandal. Accidentally adding someone to a group text, which we've all done, is the new Watergate. The National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, his staff accidentally added an American reporter to a group text of Trump officials who were discussing an attack on Iranian proxies. And the reporter accidentally added to the group text wasn't a good guy. Wasn't like our very own stupid son of a bitch, Peter Doocy.
I happen to know the guy's a total sleazebag. The Atlantic is a failed magazine. Does very, very poorly. Nobody gives a damn about it. This gives it a little bit of a shot. And I will tell you this, that they've made up more stories, and they're just a failing magazine. The public understands that.
Jeffrey Goldberg got the scoop of his life by accident because somebody may have fat-fingered him into a private chat. He says on the group text, Hegseth shared war plans for the Houthi rebels. Pete says, no, I didn't. Classified material never entered the chat. So it's a he said, she said. Goldberg's the she. Yeah, he read some things he probably shouldn't have. It was an accident. Accidents happen when you're taking action. If you sleep all day like Biden and take no action, well, that's a dereliction of duty. Mike Waltz says he has no idea how this dishonest reporter even got access to the chat.
This one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. President Trump took decisive action with his national security team, took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites, and for once, as we hear, as you all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength. You're welcome.
Later with Laura, Waltz says he may have been catfished.
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now whether he did it deliberately or it happened in some other technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
Journalists like Goldberg will sometimes send out fake names with a contact with their cells to deceive politicians. Wall says Elon and Big Balls are on the case. This wouldn't surprise me if Goldberg sneaked his way in. He's the lowest of the low. This is the guy who reported that Trump didn't want to pay for a Gold Star funeral. Remember, he said it doesn't cost $60K to bury an effing Mexican. Total lie. Goldberg's the guy who said that Trump called American soldiers suckers and losers. Lie. This guy's fine people, P-tape, can't trust him. Goldberg held this bombshell for a week and then dropped it the night before half the group chat was set up to testify on Capitol Hill. And they testified and said, yeah, we used Signal. Biden gave it to us.
One of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director was Signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA, as it is for most CIA officers. One of the things that I was briefed on very early, Senator, was by the CIA records management folks about the use of Signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the Biden administration.
You think the CIA had anything to do with this? Who knows? But Biden staffers were on Signal. Every Democrat in D.C. uses Signal. Here's Jasmine, not to be confused with Davy Crockett, on Saturday.
We have all these Signal chats. If you don't have Signal, get on Signal, okay? Do not trust that. Get on Signal, y'all.
Democrats use Signal to deal with Christopher Steele, Mr. Dossier. Trump's team uses it to take out terrorists. And now that's worse than the Pentagon Papers?
It's stunning. It's likely the biggest national security debacle that any professional can remember. This kind of planning for a military operation should be done very carefully and very deliberately, not on a Signal chat, not with emojis. For the Trump people to be saying, this chat shows how seriously they take the decision-making process makes me laugh out loud. We would never get on a Signal chat.
4 Americans were killed in Benghazi, and Susan Rice said it wasn't terrorism. She blamed a YouTube video for a protest that got out of hand. The happiest guy in D.C. today, Schumer. Finally, something took the heat off him.
I am calling for a bipartisan investigation in the Senate of this mishandling. Any Senate Republican who was up in arms years ago about emails and unsecured servers should be outraged by the Secretary of Defense's carelessness.
Hillary homebrewed a server in her basement with thousands of classified files and then acid washed it when she got caught. And no one's being two-faced. It was an accident, maybe identity theft. And there is an investigation. And no one was two-faced on the chat either. The conversation was professional, serious, and thoughtful. And most importantly, America first. Vance, Hegseth, Walt, Stephen Miller were wrestling with the issue of why we're protecting commercial shipping for our allies when they're screwing us, not paying NATO dues and tariffing our exports. JD brought it up first, saying this, quote, I think we are making a mistake. 3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez. 40% of European trade does. There is a real risk that the public doesn't understand this or why it's necessary. The strongest reason to do this, as POTUS said, to send a message. But there is a strong argument for delaying this a month. Stephen Miller responded this way, quote, the president was clear, green light. But we should make clear to Egypt and Europe what we expect in return. We also need to figure out how to enforce such a requirement. If Europe doesn't remunerate, then what? If the U.S. successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. Donald Trump agrees.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and J.D. Vance, the Vice President, said that the Europeans were freeloading. Do you agree with that assessment?
Do you really want me to answer that? Yeah, I think they've been freeloading.
The United States is protecting European trade at great risk and at great cost. We started doing this after World War II so our allies' economies could recover and to create an alliance system against the Soviets. But it's almost, 100 years later, and the Soviet Union's collapsed. And our allies' economies have recovered. Quite well, actually. But we're still paying to protect BMWs going from Germany to Asia, protect Chardonnay going from France to Japan, protect pasta from going from Italy to Indonesia. Our allies are taking advantage. So you want your ships protected? Drop your tariffs. That's the deal. And the Cold War's over. Today's bigger threat's China. And how did China become such a threat? They freeloaded off of the free trade that our Navy protects. The Chinese Navy doesn't guarantee safe passage on the high seas. Our Navy does. And we're paying to protect a predator. China's dumping cheap steel and EVs into our markets, undercutting our businesses. America is being victimized by a post-World War II order that we set up, but one that's past its expiration date. The group chat was asking, if Iranian proxies are taking potshots at German commercial vessels on their way to Asia, why isn't Berlin killing Iranian proxies? And if we're going to do it and pay for it and take the risk, shouldn't Germany pay us a premium? Or at least step up and protect Ukraine or drop their tariffs on American whiskey and Cadillacs? Are any deep thinkers in the Democrat foreign policy establishment even having this conversation? Or are they just living in the past? And it's cute for the Democrats to be worried about national security after they slept with spies, let spies drive them around, and kept classified documents in their open garages. At least the president takes responsibility.
Do you think that Mike Waltz made a mistake, and does he need to apologize?
No, I don't think he should apologize. I think he's doing his best. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect, and probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future. What do you think?
Sir, I agree with you. Let's get everybody in the room whenever possible.
America forgives when politicians tell the truth. He didn't get 13 Americans killed during an airlift and call it a success. He didn't open the border and get Americans killed and call it secure. The Trump White House told Axios this: we can easily handle what would kill any other administration. This will blow over. In 48 hours, no one will care about any of this. It's a faux media event. Nothing really to nip in the bud. No one will lose their job over it. I'm willing to bet they don't use Signal in the future. Trump says it's basically the only glitch in 2 months. And it turned out not to be a serious one. The only thing we'll remember are the emojis: fist bump, flag, and fire. Not bad. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.